Using £1,000 borrowed from friends and family, the Buzzcocks released their own EP, Spiral Scratch. This DIY approach inspired other young punks.
I went and bought the bass guitar because Bernard had a guitar, and I thought, well, 4 strings have to be easier than 6, so that seemed a good way to start. And then we went home and sat in his grand's front room in Broughton in Salford, sort of thinking, what the hell do we do now?
My grandmother had an old sort of 78 gramophone, and I wired 2 quarter-inch jack sockets to the needle of the gramophone. We plugged into the needle of the gramophone.
And we were both going through that with the guitar and the bass, going through it, just playing punk music, and we just wrote all the early stuff like Guts and stuff with no vocals or anything, you know, and just started. And then we were a band, the 2 of us, and we started looking for everybody else then.
They left a card in the window of the local record shop.
And I got all these lunatics phoning up. I remember one guy, and he arranged to meet him at a pub in Didsbury. And it was this hippie guy, and he had no shoes on, and he had like a cushion cover for a coat on, like an armless sort of cushion cover. And we were in punks, and he was like this hippie. And he got us back to his flat, me and Ucky, and he sat on these cushions, and he had a balalaika, and he started playing this balalaika, and he had a book of poetry, and he was reading out his poetry playing balalaika, and we were sat right in front of him, trying not to laugh, you know.
With Warsaw, things were still fluid. They'd seen a singer, Ian Curtis, around at punk gigs, and decided that he might be the man for them.
Because he was quite noticeable, because he had like a green flak jacket on with hate on the back in white tape, which we thought was quite interesting.
Became friends with him, and I kind of then met him on the scene. We didn't know he wanted to be a singer. And every time we'd go out then, we'd speak to him and his mates. They were called the 2 Ians, because there was another guy called Ian. He was with him.
And the guy Ian was working with dropped off, and he came and joined us.
All they needed was a drummer.
Drummers seem to be arseholes for some reason.
The first drummer we had was Tony Tabac, and he got shopped because he came up with this great scheme of if you sell dope cheaper, you sell more of it. And he never realised that as soon as he did that, all the other dealers just shopped him.
One of them even wanted to bring his girlfriend to gigs. I mean, that's just not on, is it? He went straight away.
And then Steve answered an advert that Ian put in Macclesfield.
They arranged to meet for an audition outside Strangeways Prison in Manchester.
Old Mark II Jag pulls up, you know, it's getting a bit 60s gangsterish this now. And this very young-looking lad gets out, and this other chap, I thought, he said, oh, that's Bernard there, I know you're Bernard. I thought the other lad was his dad. But it wasn't. That was Ucky.
Yeah, he just came shuffling out of his car very nervously. It was quite funny. Because he no, I shouldn't say that, no. I'm not going to say that. His mother used to dress him. So he always wore very strange clothes.
His personality fitted in with us. And he didn't seem to have any dickhead traits at that point.
I think the fact that I had some tins of drink with me helped. I think I bribed them with Coke and Vinto. So I was in. That was it. I was in Warsaw. Yay, a punk band.
Warsaw were finding it hard to get gigs because there was another band called Warsaw Pact, which led to all sorts of confusion. The band decided to change their name to Joy Division.
We did our first gig at Pips in Manchester. And I remember Ian got thrown out for kicking glass around the dance floor. And we had to beg the bouncers to let him back in. And then we did our first gig, and all my friends from Salford had a huge fight. It was a great night, that one.
I began to suspect that the reason nobody was giving us any gigs was because there was always a fight.
In desperation, Peter Hook went round to see a local promoter.
I'd been trying to pester him for ages, and I said, oh, you know, I'd come about the support gig for Susie and the Banshees, and he went, I'd just give that away. I said, oh, God, I said, who'd you give it to? And he went, Joy Division. I went, oh, that's us. And he went, oh, I mean,
remember playing a gig in Oldham, and 2 people turned up, and one of them left because we weren't the band they'd come to see. But we did it anyway.
Joy Division were becoming increasingly frustrated at not getting gigs. The only one they had lined up was the Stiff Chiswick Challenge, a national band competition that had come to Manchester. In the audience were Anthony Wilson, a local TV presenter, and Rob Gretton, a local DJ.
We went on last, and everyone, by the time we went on, it was like 1 o'clock and everyone had gone home.
We were so wound up, it was like that, you know. Ian went berserk and smashed the table up and was rolling about and broken pint pots at the front of the stage and ripping the stage apart and all this. Like, he really went, you know, because we were just so wound up. And them 2 must have made an impression.
And that night, watching all the bands, all the Manchester bands of '78 play, and ending up with Joy Division. And Joy Division only played 2 numbers and got the plugs pulled. But, you know, chalk and cheese. There's this lot on stage, and they are completely different from the other 11 bands. And I defined it, I suppose, in my brain that night as they're there because they have to be. You know, this band are on stage, it's inevitable because they have to, because something's trying to get out of them. You know, they're not on stage because they want to be rock and roll stars, because they want to be in this culture, because they think it's fun. They're on stage because they have to be.
As a result of that evening, Rob Gretton became Joy Division's manager. Joy Division recorded an album, Unknown Pleasures, and playing live, Ian Curtis's stage presence began to attract attention.
Dance, 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 dance to the radio. 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 Oh, I was call out when the going gets tough.
Ian's sort of commitment and his pushiness, and you could see it in his face, he meant it. And that made you mean it, you know, there was no flippancy about it at all. You know, he really had the power to move people.
Ian would get pissed out of his head on Special Brew, and he'd just be like this demented lunatic with like flaming arms, but it was exciting, really exciting.
Joy Division were at last beginning to attract a following. However, driving back from a gig in London, they began to notice that all was not well with Ian Curtis.
We got near Luton, and he just started making this growling sound in the front of the car. And I remember I had the flu and I had a blanket over me, and he kept turning around and pulling the blanket off me, and I said, "What are you fucking doing? Give it." And I'd pull it back, and then he'd pull it off me. I thought he was just messing around and being childish.
And he'd been a bit crabby. You know, but I just thought, oh, you know, it's after a gig, a bit of a wild gig, loads of people, you know, shaking your hand and all that lot. And he went very quiet, and then all of a sudden, you know, he was flying about.
You know, punching the windows and the windscreen, punching Steve, who's trying to drive the car at 70 miles an hour down the motorway. And then he just started banging his head against the windscreen. We obviously knew something was wrong. And that was it, really. That was his first epileptic fit. You know, which was the beginning of the end, really.
Someone take these dreams away.
Joy Division were poised to leave for their first tour of the United States, but Ian Curtis's health was still causing concern.
This stage was on heavy barbiturates that just kind of really affected his personality. One minute he'd be laughing, the next minute he'd be crying. You know, he had it quite strong.
20 years ago or whatever, I don't think they had particularly honed the treatment that they've got now. So, I mean, the simple reason that he was ill was he had epilepsy, and they were treating him for it. That got him depression. He had marital problems, and it just all got too much for him. It's quite simple.
We talked him out leaving the band and said, look, just let's take a year off where you recuperate. Take a year off, sort your life out, you know, and then see what happens. As I remember, he wanted to leave the band and go and open a sandwich shop in Plymouth or something. Why did he want to do that? No, it wasn't a sandwich and bookshop in Plymouth. By this time, he'd split up with his wife and he was staying at my house in Salford. I arranged to meet him for a drink on a Saturday night and he didn't turn up. So I went over to a friend's and I got a phone call there. He said, I've got a bit of bad news. I said, what? Talk about an understatement. He said, well, Ian's committed suicide.
The police phoned me up and told me on the Sunday morning that we were going to America that afternoon. We were supposed to be leaving.
Ian's gone. What? He's dead.
And the whole room just turned upside down and started spinning like this. And I was in a shock, totally shocked about it. And you know, it's like someone hit you with a sledgehammer. But he had it in his blood, you know. He's one of them guys who had it in his blood.